Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome back. We are still reading through Pound the Stone by Joshua Medcalf. We're about halfway through, ish, I think. But we're gonna continue through at a better clip, at least in terms of recording these videos than we have in the past, and that's on me. So, my name is Mike Dokter. I am the high school coach for the women's basketball team for the house, playing on the Michigan Basketball Academy circuit. And this is our book from the 2023-2024 season. And we'll be going into the 2024-2025 season coming up, spring of 25, which is going to be exciting coming up here soon. Tryouts are on October 20th. Today, right now, it's the end of September 25th. So just about a month, so we're excited about that. But we'll be reading chapters 34 and 35 today, and we will be rocking and rolling through there with some thoughts. So, Pound the Stone by Joshua Medcalf. If you like this video, go ahead, subscribe, watch the rest of them on the playlist. We'll go through the whole book. This is the follow-up to the book Chop Wood, Carry Water, also by Joshua Medcalf. So if you like what's in this book, it's built on what was in the first book in Chop Wood, Carry Water, which is also online on a different playlist that I recorded, so feel free to watch that too. So, Chapter 34, The Path to Mastery. The end of the school year approached, and Jason knew he had to figure out his summer plans. A few of the other guys on the team were playing AAU ball, and he knew the potential for exposure to college scouts and thus college scholarships that came with playing in that league. He could get his name out there, show what he could do, and play against and with a lot of the best high school players in the state. But still something stopped him. He knew that he had unfinished business elsewhere, and he couldn't shake the feeling that he needed to finish what he'd started. He'd worked really hard the last summer to find the groove during the last few weeks, and he didn't want to waste that. This time, he'd show that he could not only hit the 1,200 book sales goal, but he could double it. Unlike last year, he was actually excited to go through the training this time. Instead of TD, though, the keynote speaker was a guy named Rory Vaden. He wore a suit and a tie and spoke with the precision of a master storyteller. I run my own business, and each year we hire new salespeople. And I'll tell you right now that if you showed up in my office with a resume that listed 4 years in this program, and you were up for a job against someone with a resume that listed 4 years at Harvard, Duke, or Yale, I would hire you over that person in a heartbeat. Why? Because I know from experience that college simply doesn't provide the level of grit, character, and perseverance that going through a program like this does. That's right, not so long ago I sat right where you are sitting, and for 5 summers I sold books door to door just like you. Now our consulting business I co-founded does over 8 figures in revenue per year, and I trace a line from the summer of selling books to where I am now. Do you know what that line looks like? Here it is. And here is, I don't know if you can see this, but the difference between the 3 lines on the path to mastery. The straight line is what I want. The super curvy line over there is how it feels. And then the stair-stepping line right here is how it actually works. Now, the path to mastery is a lot of things, but most of all, it is not a straight line. You know the other surprising thing about mastery? Well, mastery itself is an incredible thing. Getting there isn't actually that exciting. Excellence is mundane. There is nothing flashy about doing hard work in the dark while the rest of the world is asleep. There's nothing sexy about putting in 12 to 14 hours per day training and failing to master your craft. And that final thing that most people fail to understand, and the final thing that most people fail to understand, but I have found is most crucial to my success in business relationships, is this. Jason looked up at the screen as Rory shared a quote. Find your uniqueness and exploit it in the service of others. As Rory finished, Jason realized just how applicable those same principles were to basketball. It was like TD had said just over a year ago. Pound the stone mentality applies to everything in life. After training, he was happy to knock on the familiar front door again. Russ and Jan welcomed him back like a son, and it felt great to be around them again. He was also happy to be away from his school and all the reminders of the tough year he had just been through. But if he thought this summer would be any easier, he was dead wrong. So the path to mastery. We want it to be a straight line. it feels like we're going all over creation, and sometimes we are. Sometimes we honestly are. But what it's actually like is more of a stepping stone where you have little steps and little bits of progress that happen incrementally fast, and then you plateau for a while. And then you need to challenge yourself a little bit more and go through it a little bit harder to get to that next level. Just like exercising, working out, lifting weights, losing weight, building muscle, it's all the same thing, right? You get better in short little increments. It's not a straight line. It's never a straight line. Anybody who tells you it's a straight line or that it's someplace quick, there's some easy way to get to success is either lying or has been lucky, right? There's those people who do get lucky. There's those people who do somehow just fall into it. And that happens, and good for them. That's awesome. But I can promise you that if you go through the struggles and you go through the real path to mastery and you struggle a bit and you go through those challenges and you don't have somebody bail you out of those challenges, you're going to be a better person for it. I promise you that. You are going to be a better person for it than the individual who just got everything handed to them. You're going to understand the work ethic. You're going to understand the life lessons that come along with it, the grit and the determination that it takes to do something hard. It's supposed to be hard. There's joy in doing hard things, and there's a lot of wisdom in falling in love with that process. So that was chapter 34. Chapter 35, David before Goliath. David before Goliath. The first day of sales was a total blowout. Jason felt awkward, stumbling over his words and messing up what might have been sure sales last summer. By the time he had made it back for dinner, he was so frustrated that he barely said a word. As soon as he finished helping Jan with the dishes, he grabbed his gear and headed out to his old practice court. He was looking forward to a night on the court alone, but he got there, he saw somebody else already practicing, TD himself. Jason was shocked as the big man stopped shooting and gave him a fist bump. "Hi, Jason. Russell said you might need a little help this summer. I'm really sorry to hear about your friends." "Yeah, it's okay. Thanks. So how did the season go?" "It was fine, I guess. The practice you gave helped." "Did it?" TD smiled. "So you really followed through on the workout I gave you?" Jason stumbled. "Well, yeah, actually, in case you forgot, maybe this will help." From his pocket, TD handed Jason the very same workout he gave him a year ago, crumpled just like it was when Jason threw it away. "You found it?" Jason flushed with embarrassment. "I'm sorry, it's just I didn't think it would work. I wanted to ask you all year, where's the rest of it?" "The rest of it? There isn't any." "What do you mean? Those 6 basic drills, that's it?" TD nodded as Jason tried to wrap his mind around it. "You gotta be kidding me. You don't do anything else for practice? Is there something wrong with that?" "No, it's just I thought it would be more complicated than the same basic drills." "Jason, greatness is simple. Nothing complicated about it. Have you ever watched us play?" TD said with a chuckle. "And if a player can't master the basics, they'll never master anything bigger. The foundation of every win in my career isn't any elaborate play scheme or coaching strategy, though I've benefited from those. It's what's on that sheet. Without that and the tens of thousands of hours I've spent mastering the skills from those drills, you wouldn't even know my name." That landed hard with Jason as he nodded. TD sensed his hesitation. "Let me ask you, Jason, have you ever heard of David and Goliath?" "You serious?" "Yeah, of course. Everyone has." "So you know how the story ends, right?" Jason nodded. "Of course. But have you ever thought about how it begins? It begins with David being overlooked and underestimated his entire life. We blow David up into this mythological character. But long before Goliath, his job was taking care of sheep. It was a degrading, humiliating job, but he did it faithfully, day in and day out. In heat and cold and rain and mud, he took care of those sheep every day for years. Now, in life, everyone will face a Goliath moment. And in that moment, most people think, if I knew this moment was coming, I would have prepared better. If I had known I would be here, I would have been so much more faithful to all the little, seemingly insignificant details." Jason nodded as TD went on. "The cool thing that happens when we become faithful to the process, to the little things, to the sheep tending seasons in our lives, is that it is actually building and refining our character so that when those Goliath opportunities come, we can step up with conviction, the conviction that only comes from incredible preparation. That's what I want for you. It's cool, the basketball stuff, but this is about more than that. Your Goliath moments can come on or off the court. When they do, your fate won't be determined by what you do in that moment. Instead, your fate will have already been determined a long time ago based off your willingness or unwillingness to suffer, sacrifice, and be incredibly faithful to the little sheep in your life that feel insignificant at the time. I can promise you something, Jason. If you truly fall in love with the process, you will eventually love what that process produces. Eventually is the key word. Everyone's eventually is different, and we can't control when it arrives. All we can control is our faithfulness to tending sheep. Your eventually might come tomorrow or 25 years from now. But I promise you that if you fall in love with the process, you will eventually love what the process produces. Victory in your Goliath moment starts long before when you faithfully tend the sheep like David did. All right, that's a powerful chapter, and you can tell I'm a little bit choked up as I usually get in the midst of these. So I'll try and be brief with this breakdown because I could literally talk about this chapter for hours from both personal experience and what I've seen in other people's lives and experienced in my own. But we never know when we're going to be asked to step up in a major way. And the things that prepare us to actually deliver in those huge times are not the things that we think they are. It's the little stuff that we do over and over and over and over again. If you've ever listened to me or heard me speak in a large crowd or been taught by me in any capacity for any extended period of time, you've heard me say that a ton of feathers still weighs a ton. And that is 100% true. Enough inches stacked up next to each other will reach around the world. And when you're doing those little things that you don't think matter, when you're making those little decisions that you don't think matter, to read that chapter for school, to do that extra homework problem before the test, to prepare before your game, to watch a video of how you played last week, or to study somebody else who you admire and how they do a move, to practice a move, to go out in the rain and shoot even when the weather is crappy, to take that extra free throw after practice when you're absolutely exhausted, to show up early, to stay late. 5 minutes is not that big of a deal in the moment, but that 5 minutes, practice after practice after practice, year after year after year, equals hours of extra training that somebody else didn't get. And those are the little things that add up. And those are the little things that make the difference when it comes right down to it. And that's what this chapter is talking about. David before Goliath had one of the most humiliating jobs in the world. He was the youngest of 12 sons. And he was overlooked again and again and again and again and again. And he was actually overlooked to... When the prophet of God came to name the next king of Israel, he was forgotten about because he was out tending the sheep. And all of the other sons went and got rejected by the prophet. And the prophet asked the father, do you got anyone else? Like, I'm supposed to be here. I know I'm supposed to be here. Do you have anyone else? And they're like, yeah, just the kid who's out taking care of the sheep because he's not important enough to do what these guys are doing. That was David. That was David, and he's one of the most well-known kings of in the entire history of the Israelite people, and became one of the most powerful. And he faithfully did what he was supposed to do, day in and day out, even when it sucked, even when he was overlooked, even when he was jealous, even when he was frustrated, even when he was sad, even when he was happy. All of the different influxes of emotion, he kept pounding the stone. He kept doing what he was supposed to do day in and day out, and he was faithful to the little things. And if you're faithful to the little things, you'll be given more. And that's what this chapter is talking about. So we're coming right up on 15 minutes. I babbled a little bit longer than I wanted to, but I hope you got something out of this. Thank you for watching. We'll see you next time, guys. Bye now.